What's up, everybody? This is the PlayStation Lifestyle Underground Podcast. We are an unofficial podcast of PlayStationLifestyle.net. I'm Hugo Stiglitz. You can find me on PSN, Steam, and the other PC networks that no one uses as Hugo Stiglitz _420. And Xbox Live is THNK for URSELF. And with two other people today, like usual, you guys want to say what's up?
Sure. I'm Jordash7K, and that's where you can find me pretty much everywhere on PSN, elsewhere on the internet. That's me.
Sweet.
And I'm Brian Mashallah. You can find me on the comments and forums as Brian Mashallah, and anywhere you can play games as Cloudstripe768.
Nice. So yeah, lately I've been playing a few different things. Some racing games. But mainly, past couple days, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, which I gotta say it was really fucking good. Like I already finished it, and it gets a lot better. Like I thought the open world part of it was what I wish Tomb Raider was. Like I think it's definitely Tomb Raider. I thought was too cluttered. It felt too much like a video game, and it felt like too much pointless shit going on. While the Lost Legacy actually, like the open world parts were actually cool because they were completely optional, but they were actually fun at the same time because most of the stuff that was optional was puzzles, and I loved the puzzles. So it was fun to me to do that. Plus driving around with stuff was fun. But the actual story bits were awesome, especially towards the end. It was really good. I mean, it's not like quite a full Uncharted. Although it was longer than two of them. It's about 9.5 hours, while Uncharted 1 and 3 are shorter than that. But it wasn't quite as dense or as deep story-wise, but it was still really good. And, yeah, I'm still unhappy with how Naughty Dog handled the whole Season Pass thing, but, I mean, bottom line is they produced an awesome game, and it's basically more Uncharted 4, except it doesn't feel like Uncharted 4 because it's, like, total different location, some different style, and, you're not Nate. But, without getting into spoiler territory, it was awesome. I'll leave it at that. Other than that, like some Killzone Shadowfall, Call of Duty 4 Prop Hunt, and like I've been messing around with a bunch of different games because I got a new headset, the Astro A40s. I got them very cheap off eBay. And they sound amazing, so yeah, that's about it for me. Like I haven't been playing anything real consistently this week because I've been busy. But yeah, what have you guys been playing lately?
Sure. This week, I didn't game too hard this week either. I'm getting into that weird spot where, I have a whole lot of games not started, and I can't choose which one to start. I did, however, this week I finished up. 2 weeks ago, I had bought both Riptide GP games. They were on sale through all the digital sale, and I platinumed one the week before, and I platinumed the other one, Riptide GP Renegade, and I platinumed that yesterday. It took a lot longer to platinum than the first one. The first one took me probably less than 5 hours. The second one probably took me like 10 hours because they really, really pad out the campaign, and there's a lot more rubber banding. And so not only do you have to race perfect, but you got to get a little bit lucky too. But I still enjoyed that. And really this week I've been just rewatching a whole bunch of Game of Thrones with my wife, which is I think just as good of a time sink as the video games. Yeah, I won't spoil anything for Brian. I know he doesn't know much.
Nope.
I've never seen an episode either.
What? What is wrong with you two? Crazy people.
Nothing. Breaking Bad was all I needed.
Breaking Bad was so good.
Well, and I am still following The Walking Dead, but that's it for TV for me. I don't really care, to be honest, about TV. Well, and I still watch the Grand Tour. You know, it's the Top Gear guys, but under a different name. That show's awesome.
Wait, what's the Grand Tour? What?
It's like, you know how like the hosts of Top Gear got kicked off. Well, the main guy, Jeremy, got fired from Top Gear because he punched some dude or something.
Oh, good times.
Well, they made a new show. It's better than Top Gear ever was, and it's like only on Amazon Prime, but it's awesome.
Yeah, you like all that car stuff. That's
yes,
right.
But it's like, I mean, it's funny because it's like they hardly even focus on the cars anymore. It's more of a comedy show at this point. Like, They do still do stuff with cars, but it's really more about comedy than it is about cars now.
Oh, that's
like,
good.
kind of always has been though with Top Gear.
I can't believe both of you don't watch Game of Thrones. That is egregious. That is not right.
Man,
Well, I've explained it. I
Like
want to. I
thousands
have.
of people just changed their Twitch channel. They all just turned away.
whatever, it's all good. Well, nobody's watching anyways on my Twitch. Like, I just use it for backup.
Yeah.
I literally write in the title, "Don't watch. I'm not responding to comments. This is just for backup." But yeah, no, like Game of Thrones is one of those things. It's popular, so it probably sucks. I'm gonna be that hipster
Oh my
type
God.
attitude bullshit with that. Nah, I'm kidding. Fuck hipsters. But no, like I just haven't seen it yet, and it's like one of those things where it's like I know if I start, it'll be a binge, and yeah, I don't have time for that.
See, I was like a hipster on Breaking Bad. Like I was watching that from like season 1, so I got in way before everyone else started. Like 2 seasons later, and then I like twirled my fancy mustache and looked down at them.
Yeah, there's 2 hipster schools of thought. One is I watched it before, it was cool. And then the other one is, oh, that's too popular, it's overrated. That's the other one. So it can go either way. But, yeah, no, Breaking Bad, I actually didn't watch till like the fourth season was over. So it's like, but, man, that was still a long wait just for the 5th.
Oh my God.
Because
yeah.
it's such a good show.
Like the mid-season 5 cliffhanger. When Hank finds out in the book,
Yeah.
oh my God! Like I had to wait. You had to wait a year, and I wanted it right
Yeah,
away.
that was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like a full year. But,
I can't believe I'm getting.
yeah, back to video games.
I was getting too hyped up about it. I was like shouting.
But all right, so are you done with what you have been playing?
Oh yeah, I'm done. I didn't play anything.
Uh,
All right, Brian.
Let me try to board that station real quick because we just went totally off track, didn't we?
Yep.
It's fine. I enjoy it. For me, I basically.
Trains are fun.
Oh yeah. For me, I've been playing still some Final Fantasy, still chipping away at some Fortnite, still playing some Splatoon here and there. Almost beat 1/3 of the stories in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. Some Agents of Mayhem as well. And I also got Uncharted The Lost Legacy, but I pre-ordered it, and I've actually been playing far more Jack 1 than I have been Uncharted. I'm actually on the verge of platinuming that game already, and I will do that probably tonight. And I'm still playing some Uncharted, but I'm like in the middle of chapter 4, so not too far.
Yeah, that's still the open world section.
Which I don't like at all.
Well, once you hit chapter 5, it's no longer open world. So
Good. Can't wait for that. As we've discussed before, I'm just kind of over open world stuff, especially this year, so.
Yet another thing that.
yeah, but it's not a real open world. Like it's kind of like an optional do puzzles and treasure hunting, or just go straight to the mission objective and that's it. Like it's just a little driving. If you want it to be, it's no more open world than Uncharted 4 is, but it does have the optional extra stuff that you can do, which I liked, but
I don't.
yeah. At least it's not as open world and boring as Tomb Raider, though, because that had way too much collectible nonsense and side mission crap. Oh man, not a fan of the way they did Tomb Raider. It's like I wish it was more Uncharted-like, to be honest. It's funny, like people give them both crap for copying each other, but really, I'd rather them both be the same formula. I think it would be more fun that way. But that's because all I care about is the story and the gameplay, although the gameplay in Tomb Raider ain't the greatest either. But, okay, so, assuming you're done, so we'll go on to
Yes.
news story, right? Yeah. Okay, first news story is, within the past week, PlayStation's Twitter account was hacked, and they also supposedly hacked and found the PSN database or something like that. I don't even know what that is. but it's done by this group called Armine, who basically tests out like security measures of big companies like that, and they're not like doing anything malicious, supposedly. That's what they say, but it's just still kind of like a weird thing to do. I don't understand the purpose. Also, in like one of the tweets they made, like drama alert was mentioned, so it's like I don't know what exactly their motivation were. Starting to wonder if DJ Keemstar paid them to do the whole thing. But yeah, it's weird. It's not the greatest look for Sony, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter either. Like, I don't think nothing really negative came of it other than just some bad publicity for the people who are actually paying attention. Unless I'm missing something. No?
I'm sorry,
Guess not.
unless...
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't just their Twitter, it's also their social media, other social media accounts like Facebook, and I don't know what else there is. I'm not much of a social media person, but and it was not only just the US, there was a couple other countries worth of their social media accounts, so it was a little more widespread, but I don't quite know how, unless this, I don't think this database they mentioned was anything too serious, because if they hacked social media, what is a database of? People that subscribe to you?
That's what I was wondering
Yeah.
too, yeah.
So, like,
Well, no, I thought they, like, of the actual network, not their social media.
I don't know if they would.
I'm pretty sure that's what, like, because they said PSN database, not Twitter. Like, Twitter, they would have access to all that stuff, like, on, or whatever social media they hacked. Yeah, they'd have access to all that, but I mean, like, they said PSN database, which I don't know what that is, but it is something involving the actual network, nothing social media related.
If it was serious, though, then why would they publicly announce it? And they're basically saying, hey, we did something wildly illegal. Come arrest us. Which, you know, they
Yeah,
did it.
I guess so.
They did it to HBO, I believe, already, and some other companies. So, it's,
Yeah.
We've said it before,
Like, they're-
fuck hackers. And fuck everything they stand for.
Yeah, like, they say that they are doing it just to, like, I don't know, like, help the company. I think they do to check company security measures and say whether they're good or bad. And it's like, you're really going to go through that much effort just to say that, or is it kind of for bragging rights? I don't even know. Like, hackers are a strange group of people. It's like you got anonymous who are supposedly doing good things, but then every once in a while they'll do fucked up shit like the 2011 PSN hack. You got dickheads like Lizard Squad who did the whole DDoS thing, and people like that like actually want to just be dicks to everyone and piss everyone off. Like, so I don't know. Like, hackers are strange. I wish they didn't have the skills that they do, but yeah, that's kind of what we have to deal with, and well, mainly the companies that run all this stuff have to deal with, because if they don't protect themselves, they're going to be, you know, they're at risk, basically, and they could cost themselves hundreds of millions of dollars like Sony kind of did. Although it wasn't their fault, it's still, like, if their security was good enough, that never would have happened, and they wouldn't have been out whatever, how much money it was, which was, I think it was like 150 million or more.
Ooh.
So. Yeah, it was bad. That 2011 hack was no joke. I mean, they were down for over a month,
Yep.
which is, I don't think that's ever happened. I've never heard of that happening to anyone as far as gaming networks or anything.
I didn't even have my PS3 by then, so yeah, I missed it.
Lucky you.
I got it like a year before, but I was on vacation for 2 of those weeks, so I don't even care.
It was tough. Mostly because I couldn't check or sync my trophies. And it killed XCOM, or keep saying XCOM, and it killed SOCOM, the series as a whole.
Yeah. I also heard that wasn't the greatest game anyway, so that might not have been the only reason, but yeah, no, I mean, I remember the worst was hearing, like, some idiot say that, oh, I sold my PS3 and got an Xbox because I couldn't play online. It's like, dude, you are way too obsessed with gaming if you can't wait a couple weeks, like, oh, man, but whatever. He got stuck with his choice, so It's his problem now. um, and I hope he got an Xbox One at the beginning of this gen too, which brings us to our other news story, which is, once again, Xbox is like had another bad news as far as first-party games or exclusive games, which this time it's Crackdown 3, delayed till next year. A lot of people were making a huge deal about it. I don't really think it is. I mean, maybe it's because like a lot of Sony exclusives have been getting delayed until the next year, like multiple times. But it's pretty much all Xbox had this year. It all for exclusives, really, other than Cuphead. So yeah, I can see how it's a big deal to some people, but to me personally, it's not. Just because like I've never liked Crackdown. To me, it's like almost like a poor man's Saints Row. But I don't know. Some people like it and are upset about it getting delayed. What do you guys think?
I've never played a Crackdown. I don't have an Xbox, so yeah, Gamescom was just a wash for me. I don't think I got anything out of Gamescom.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I have always liked Crackdown. Knowing that there was going to be a new Crackdown was one of the reasons I bought an Xbox One in the first. Yeah, Xbox One in the first place. These stupid Xbox names. I almost said Xbox One X. So, I mean, it's a little disappointing, and especially so since you do have Xbox One X coming out, it was supposed to be like a big game for it, and just launching some kind of new hardware without it is, it's kind of shitty. Because what did Sony have last year?
In the fall?
Yeah.
The Last Guardian.
Did that have
Wasn't there something?
Did that have some PS4 Pro stuff going on with it?
Oh yeah, it's like 1800. It's almost 4K on PS4 Pro. Yeah.
Yeah. So it sucks when you have a new piece of hardware coming out and you don't have a game that kind of highlights it. Kind of.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's be real here, and who cares if we offend Xbox people who watch? There aren't that many exclusives, and the games and exclusives Xbox does have are far inferior to Sony and Nintendo by an incredibly large margin. They have Halo, which has been going downhill for a very long time. They have Gears, which is pretty good, but if you don't like third-person shooters, then that's literally most of the exclusives just gone. Rare has been a shell of its former self since N64.
Big time.
And then you have some, they killed Fable, they killed Scalebound. They have a couple indies here and there, but even some of their indies are they exclusive? Are they not? Is Cuphead ever coming to PS4? Is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds ever coming to PS4? Cuphead, maybe not. PlayerUnknown's probably. So that's less exciting that it's coming to Xbox. And other than that, if you love Forza, then Xbox is for you. If you don't, then you have no need for those exclusives.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all we need for the Xbox talk for now. Our topic today is, sports games. And after that, we are going to discuss esports a little bit. Now, sports games, I don't think any of us have a ton of experience with. I play a shitload of racing games. Some of them you could consider sports games because they focus on a single racing series, like F1, WRC is another. I mean, there's NASCAR as well, but I don't really play that. But as far as just real, regular sports games that a lot of people play, I mean, Rocket League is definitely the one I play the most because I consider that a sports game. It's kind of on the fringe because it's not a real sport, but I still see it as one because it's totally focused on that, like a sports competition, basically. But yeah, I mean, growing up, I played some hockey games, baseball, stuff like that. I mean, when I was younger and I didn't really know what type of games were out there, it just seemed like an obvious one to go to, sports, which I think is why they're so popular. But I just don't play them much anymore. To me, they're kind of boring these days. Other than like I said, Rocket League is the only one I'm really interested in. But they're still super popular. Although I think sometimes they're very egregious when it comes to re-releasing the same stuff every year. Like, it's literally just roster updates 99% of the time. Like, and I think that's kind of sad, but at the same time, there is a market for that, apparently, because Madden sells a ton every year. My biggest problem with Madden would probably be the fact that it curses the people they put on the cover 9 times out of 10. And the past, 2 of 3 years, a player from my team has been on it. So let's hope the GOAT is the first one to break that stupid curse.
Hey,
well, not the first one, but one of them. He'll be one of them to break that curse, because there has been a few.
Gronkowski misses a few games every year. You can't blame the cover on that.
Yeah, you can. Come on, he missed a lot of games, and he missed the most important one of them all, the Super Bowl. Come on, right there. But no, there have been some that avoided it, But
Larry
we're not
Fitzgerald.
going to all talk about the stupid curse. That's just my opinion on Madden. But what about other sports games? You guys play any at all?
For myself, the only sports game I have on the PS4 is I have Madden. I usually buy a Madden every 3 years to keep up because I play that a bit with one of my buddies that I play with. Some of my favorite sports games are the Mario sports games, Mario Golf, Mario Tennis. Mario Tennis for the GameCube is my number one. That's a great game. All the Mario sports games, they're all super super fun. Everyone has memories of those on the older systems because I'm old and I say we don't have all the friends over to playing like we did 10 years ago, but unlike the GameCube and 64, everyone has played Mario Tennis and Golf, and
I haven't.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh.
I didn't know anybody with a Nintendo when I was younger, except for 64. And I don't remember any sports games for that.
Oh, Mario Tennis was a big deal for us. Everyone's also loves NBA Jam. No one can say they don't love all the NBA Jams over the years. And don't you say you haven't played that either, Hugo.
I haven't.
Oh, my God.
I haven't.
Oh, my... What? How...
I bet Brian's played even less sports games than me, actually.
NBA Jam was one of the most popular games in the early 90s, that Sega Super Nintendo time. Ridiculous.
I mean, I was very young, but all me and my friends played was Road Rash and Mortal Kombat in that early 90s, so.
Yeah. Well, Brian has no excuse. NFL Blitz.
I do have an excuse. I don't like sports games.
Poor excuse. NFL Blitz.
What
On the
about fighting
64
games?
time. Fighting games? Oh, yeah. Everyone either was more of a Street Fighter or a Mortal Kombat neighborhood.
Mortal Kombat for me.
We were...
Neither.
Quarter Horse Lane was a Street Fighter.
Well, what about Tekken? You just played Tekken... You platinum Tekken 7, so...
I played... I never played Tekken... Well, I never owned Tekken 1. I played some at a friend's house and Tekken 2, and then I just stopped. I was always more of a Soul Calibur guy, and that was Dreamcast. And then Power Stone and Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
I mean, fighting games like that, they're not really sports games. You can kind of include them, but it's I have played some Fight Night and UFC just because I'm a huge fan of UFC and boxing. But I got UFC 2 recently, and I'm really not even a fan of the game that much. That's why I waited so long to get it. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of the sports games they're trying too hard to be realistic, and they're kind of losing some of the fun factor. Because it's a lot of the times it's you have to read a dictionary just to learn how to do all the different things that are in the game, as far as gameplay features and techniques, and it's just it's almost like you're learning to play a real sport half the time, and it's that's what's kept me away from hockey games as of late. That's what's kept me away from UFC games. I don't know if the golf games have gone that way, but I haven't played any of the recent ones, but I always did like Tiger Woods. I thought that was an awesome
that was a
series.
good one too, yeah.
And they got rid of it because, he likes to have sex with prostitutes. And it's That's his private business.
They still make the golf games. They just slap different people on the cover.
No need to kill a series.
Yeah,
yeah, but I don't know.
Well, have you played the one? Have you played the other ones without him?
No.
Well, then how can you say they don't feel the same? Liar.
Because Tiger Woods isn't on the cover.
You liked being inside
He's
Tiger
not on
Woods.
The cover. Well, it's like I want to, I see him as a role model, But yeah, I don't know. Although I will say the one thing I did hear about the new, it's not Tiger Woods anymore, golf game, but they had people in the crowd shouting Baba Booey, which I thought was a very realistic and nice touch. But yeah, I know some people are like huge sports games players. Like there's a lot of casual gamers that play the shit out of them, play them every year. Like it's crazy to me how popular NBA 2K is. Like, and it's like they gave one of them for free to us for PlayStation Plus. I played it for like 2 seconds.
It's so complicated.
This sucks.
It was really complicated.
Exactly. Like I said, it's like you have to read a dictionary.
Oh my god, yeah, I couldn't do it.
Things.
I wanted like 3 buttons using like NBA Jam. That's what I wanted. Oh yeah, we didn't. And like 10 million people every year buy FIFA. Not Americans because we don't like soccer, also known as football. But yeah, 10 million people buy that every year.
If you're European,
yeah.
To me it's soccer. And I don't like it. I love Rocket League, but that's really not even soccer at all. That's just pure fun. But yeah, so it's like I don't know, like that's like a super popular thing, but yeah, none of us are huge fans of it. Although I think you probably play a little more than me and Brian. So as far as fighting games go, you mentioned Soul Calibur, Tekken, Street Fighter, all that.
I like Marvel vs. Capcom.
I feel like that's like one genre that that's like one of those genres that are known to make people rage, and for good reason, because they cheat a lot. Like the computer definitely seems to cheat to me, although maybe it's not. Maybe it's just the fact that all video games and TVs have input lag, and it's like when you need that split-second response to block an attack or something, I feel like that hinders it a little bit. And it's maybe it's just an excuse, but it is cool how like popular those games are as far as esports, because it's like they like really get. I've seen some clips from those events, like as far as Street Fighter and stuff. It's hilarious how into it they get. It like they'll be getting into it like crazy, and it's pretty funny too, like some of the reactions and stuff. But as far as esports, we discussed this a long time. Well, I think it was just me, Juan, and Steve discussed this a long time ago. But the debates of whether or not esports are real sports, and I would say they are, because I mean you have stuff like darts that are considered a real sport, and I mean does that really take that much more athleticism than playing a video game? No, not really. Or I mean apparently poker is considered a sport, which I would actually argue it's not. I'll get into that before, but like the thing is like the definition of sport is pretty vague. It's kind of wide. It's basically a competition based on physical activity. And although video games do take place on a computer screen, but still, there is a tremendous amount of dexterity involved in being a professional player of StarCraft, Street Fighter, Call of Duty. Like, it's not just like their mental ability that separates them from the noobs. While I would argue that in poker, it's almost entirely mental. Like, it's not how you put down the cards that decides who wins. So it's like I kind of see that as not a sport, although video games is, just because it's very heavily based on physical skill, because it takes dexterity. It absolutely does, especially like shooters is the one I have the most experience in, and just over the years I've noticed how much better I've got as far as aiming and stuff, and that really does separate who wins and who loses. And I know it's funny. Like a lot of people look at darts and sports like that as kind of games, not sports. And I understand that because it doesn't take athleticism, really. But I mean, like I said, the definition is pretty loose, and stuff like darts is considered a sport. So I would say it is. But what do you guys think?
See, I would say the opposite about the definition and say it's quite specific. It says it involves physical exertion. You don't exercise to play esports. You're not doing thumb curls.
Actually, they do.
The only thing I can say you could argue that is an actual sport is because you can pop Adderall for a performance enhancer. They do have that in common. But esports, sitting in front of a computer, clicking a mouse and typing on a keyboard, that is not physical exertion. And yeah, that's the big difference. I mean, you could probably sweat if you're nervous playing in a game, but sitting there playing a Call of Duty on your team, you shouldn't be breaking a sweat because that's so physically exerting. And I would say that, just in the name, there's sports, and then they have a different name. They have esports because they're different. Then they have poker on TV, and they probably have darts on ESPN3, but they have Rocket League on. Rocket League is on TV now, but Rocket League, that's sitting there on clicking your controller. That's not physical exertion. That's not a sport. It's an esport for sure.
I don't know. You should check out some of the StarCraft players. That's absolutely physical exertion, man. You see how fast these guys are.
Those dudes are crazy. But I would say that that's not physically exerting enough. It's a game that you play for competition, but it's not a sport.
Well, would you say racing isn't a sport then?
No, NASCAR sitting in a car, that is very exerting.
Okay, that is true.
Yeah. You lose.
Especially F1 drivers, they actually compete with like triathletes for conditioning, because it's very.
I forget how many pounds they lose every race. Yeah.
Like 10 pounds.
Yeah.
And they're already only like 160 pounds to begin with. Like most race car drivers. Well, at least in F1, they're
they're tiny.
Like 5'5" and stuff. Yeah, they're wicked small. But yeah, no, you make a point. Like it depends where you look on the definition, because there are other places that aren't that specific as far as they don't say anything about physical exertion or how much physical exertion is required.
Hold on one sec. I'll be right back.
But I still feel like if darts is considered a sport, I mean, even poker is, and that's 0% about the physical activity, which is, placing your cards. And you could have someone else do it for you. You could have a trained monkey do it, and it doesn't mean it has nothing to do with whether you're going to win the poker tournament or not. 0% to do with it. So I would say that's not a sport, because that has nothing to do with your physical skill. And that is one thing that every definition of sport does say something about having physical skill and dexterity. While gaming absolutely does. I mentioned it before. It does take skill. And it doesn't require a ton of physical exertion. I mean, 9 esports out of 10, they're never going to sweat. Some do, I think, but it's more because they're yelling to the teammates and stuff. But I don't think we should define it as who's sweating or not, but a lot of esports, they're not exerting a ton, but they still are. And they, especially when they get really into the games, it's as far as fighting games, because they use the fighting sticks and stuff too. I mean, sometimes they'll break up a sweat, so it's it doesn't. The definition doesn't say how much physical exertion has to be involved. It just says that the competition has to be based upon it, and I mean I don't think, I think you're kind of add something to it to say that because there's not a ton of physical exertion, it doesn't count as physical exertion. You know what I mean? So that's my stance on it. But, Brian, what do you think?
Well, just because a game or something is not necessarily physically exerting doesn't mean it's not mentally exerting. And, I mean, if the International Olympic Committee identifies chess as a sport, why can't StarCraft or Rocket League be grouped into something similar, where it takes a lot of mental skill to be able to play a lot of these games. And when you watch pro StarCraft players play, they're thinking minutes ahead of what exactly they're doing, and that takes a lot of like mental. I mean, they might exert themselves, but it just takes so much thinking, and it's the the mental equivalent of busting your ass playing a football for 60 minutes.
Guitar? Oh. Yeah, no, I completely agree, and like I mean, especially some of the StarCraft players. I mean, they'll be shredding up the keyboards like Dimebag Darrell or something, shredding up a fretboard on a guitar. But I would actually argue, I mean, because you brought up chess with the Olympics, and they consider, I would actually argue that that's not, because every definition of sport does say that the competition is based on the physical exertion, or like physical part, like it does mention physical, it's not purely mental. And chess and poker are two examples of games that the physical part of it is not what's the competition is based on at all. Like I mentioned before, you could just tell a computer where you want the thing moved. You could have somebody else move it for you. There are even people like someone like Stephen Hawking could play chess. You know what I mean? So to me, because it's not about what you're doing physically in those games, it's not a sport, but it's recognized as one in the Olympics. So it's like, it's hard to say, but I think you make a great point that if that is considered a sport by the Olympic community, how can anyone say that esports aren't?
Especially when they're thinking about including esports in the Olympics in the coming years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ESPN shows it too. They recognize it. But at the same time, I do totally see Jordash's point, which I think most people have that stance, that it's like they're not being athletic. It's not like their athletic prowess comes into play, which like the main sports we're used to seeing. So it's like I understand why some people are resistant to it, but like I don't know, like the definition of sports is kind of a little open.
See, I say they're all oops. Not all. Yeah, an alarm set go off. Sorry, a salamander broke into my house. I had to toss it out a minute ago.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the exact way I phrased this before, so I don't say it backwards. But like all sports are games, but not all games are sports. Like I know chess. I had no idea the Olympics said that chess was a sport because you're. I googled it on Wikipedia. It says it's a mind sport.
Yeah.
But like I say, not all games are sports. And Rocket League, while it's super great and millions of people play it and people enjoy that game, it's like a sports game. It's like car soccer, which soccer is a sport, but not all games are sports.
Like, so you're trying to make the distinction that because they're not physically competing with each other directly, like as they're virtually competing with each other, although they are doing something physical that is the competition is very much based on their skill and dexterity with that. But you're saying because they're not directly interacting each other physically, that it's not a sport.
That is part of it, yes.
That does kind of make sense to me.
Yeah, I'm not saying your arguments are completely invalid, but I do suppose we do live in two alternate realities on this. And it's
Well, I think
I wouldn't say that. I just think there's two sides to that coin. Like there's different arguments to make. But sorry, go ahead, Brian.
I think I'm not saying that this is necessarily why you think this way, Jordash, or others think similarly. Just that esports as a thing is still, pretty new and in its nascent stages of being a thing. So it, is not super. It's not uncommon for a lot of people to have that viewpoint because, it's new. It's kind of nebulous in that, sure, it doesn't necessarily require a lot of physical exertion, but it still does require a lot of team coordination and a lot of training and stuff like that. It's kind of, it's whether it is or isn't is also, I think, is pretty directly impacted by it being a new thing that maybe will become more accepted as real sports down the line, because we're still kind of in this midway point as well when it comes to technology, where a lot of older individuals, not saying you're old, we're about the same age, we're all about the same age actually, but a lot of older individuals don't think that technology is as important as the newer generation. So when our kids grow up, I think that esports as an actual sport will just be another common thing for them, because they will probably see much less of a difference between playing football and playing Madden in a competitive setting where you win money. Just different sides to a similar coin.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, yeah.
And playing Madden would definitely be less dangerous.
Yeah, like what this reminded me of, the whole talk of, is it an actual sport? It reminded me of the South Park episode where they were talking about gay marriage, and they said, well, yeah, you can get married and spend all your lives together and have a ceremony, but you can't call it getting married. You two guys, you got to be butt buddies. You can't be married, and you can do all the things, you can have all the rights, but you got to be called a different name. And I just felt like that is kind of what. And unfortunately, I'm on the mean butt buddy side. I'm saying you can't call it a sport. I'm on the wrong side of this.
Yeah, because I mean, with that, like, they did kind of, change things and accommodate it and make it into what it used to not be. Like, so, and I think Brian might be right, because with the way technology's going, where like someday they might change the definition of sport to include it. I think currently it's definitely a debate to be had, like, because I mean, you made some good points as far as like, yes, gaming is a like, esports are, it is physically competitive, but they're not competing with each other directly, physically. Although at the same time, you could say the same thing about downhill skiing or racing in general. Like, they're not supposed to smash into each other, but they do. But for like downhill skiing, I guess would be a better example, because they don't even go on the same like course at the same time, but that's still considered a sport. So like, I don't know if it's a fair distinction to make that because they're not competing with each other physically, that it's not a sport because of that. Because downhill skiing is a sport, they're not directly competing with each other physically.
I mean, even in the way we view sports now, there are different tiers of sports, correct? I mean, I'm pretty sure that, maybe I'm making assumptions, but I'm pretty sure all three of us view a sport like football as more of a sport than darts or discus throwing.
Yeah.
Because, when we think of sports, we think of, head-to-head competition. Even something like soccer, where they kick a ball around and flop on the ground like a bunch of ballerinas. That's still a sport. Versus football, or, something where, like football or anything else. Hockey, boxing, anything else. Those sports, to me, I mean, it sounds kind of a little hypocritical and ignorant to say it, but, those sports are more sports to me than discus throwing or horseback riding or almost anything else. When we think of, the major sports, the channels on TV that are directly associated with sports.
Yeah, is that just due more to popularity, you think? That's what I think.
I mean, it could be. Then there are different tiers of popularity.
Also tradition.
That too. So I think it's just one of those things. We view sports in different tiers now, and I think that might change and evolve as time goes on. And I think just because esports are a new thing, that people have more opinions on them, and maybe that'll change in the coming years. But I think it's pretty telling that the Olympic Committee is considering adding esports as
Yeah, it is.
Olympic sports. So
Yeah, and they haven't even added MMA yet, which is, I don't know. I don't even think they're considering it either. So it'd be funny if esports got added into the Olympics before that.
That'd be funny.
yeah.
Or not so funny, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, I know. This week you brought up sports and esports because you know you're looking forward to the fight this weekend. I completely forget who you're pulling for this weekend.
Oh, of course I'm pulling for Conor McGregor.
Yeah, me too. I think everyone is because Mayweather's just so boring to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because he made a big deal about being the A side, which is meaning like he's the more popular, the bigger guy. But then every press conference they had, it was like the crowd were almost unanimous for Conor. Like it was kind of crazy because every time he would try to get the crowd to say something back to him or cheer, silence. Like it was kind of crazy, but. Yeah, that was what inspired the idea for the topic. It's a pretty big event. Like, it's like getting played on TV all the time, I'm sure. And it's like even my dad called me about it. Like, that's how I know that. Like, yeah, it's big because he doesn't really follow stuff closely. Although he used to be a kickboxer, go figure. But he doesn't follow boxing or MMA, really. But yeah, no, that's definitely. I would say that is a sport. For sure, boxing.
What's in the Olympics?
Punching the shit out of each other. Yeah, that is true. And that was actually the last time Floyd lost officially was in the Olympics. Till Saturday, I mean. But, yeah, I don't know. You guys have anything else to add?
About the sports and esports, I still can't believe you guys haven't played like any of the 90s sports games that I listed. That's terrible.
I haven't played sports games of any era or decade, unless you count Mario Kart and some of the... I played Mario Golf. I played Mario Soccer on GameCube, and that was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, I don't, Tekken... I bought Tekken to satisfy a Soul Calibur craving I had in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I basically play Mario Kart and Smash Brothers. And those are, the closest I come to sports games. I got Drive Club for free. I played it for 5 seconds and then immediately deleted it when I crashed into a wall.
Oh, I love Drive
Club. I played NBA 2K.
That's one of those racing games you got to use your brakes. So
nope.
Most people aren't used to that.
Yeah, most people do what Brian says. Nope.
not my cup of tea. Yeah, I'm just not much of a sports kind of guy. Even back in the day with like Mortal Kombat and stuff like that, my cousin had it and I played it with him, but I never actually owned a Mortal Kombat game.
Yep. So you had mentioned getting Tekken as like that was your fighting game kick to buy. I think like in the rung of all the esports games, fighting games, they're like on the bottom of it. And I say that because like the developers like barely acknowledge that it happens. Like Capcom gives like $10,000 for their Street Fighter V Ultimate Championship. And they don't because the like fighting game crowd, like they just love to like gamble and like talk shit all the time, and it's not like it's not nice and clean like having a team of 5 Asian kids playing a team of 5 white kids on the other side. And so the developers don't acknowledge it as much, and that's why the prize pool for League of Legends is like $5 million, and Street Fighter is it's like they add $10,000 to the pool, and everyone that shows up is like has to pay $20 to enter.
Damn. Well, that's why the clips from the fighting game tournaments are so much.
Don't get me wrong. Fighting games. They're hype. I love Marvel. So glad that they have a new Marvel coming out because that's the one I like the most. It's by far like the fastest and most crazy of the fighting games to watch, and I like Smash Brothers too. But the fighting game community, like it's not really acknowledged by all the developers, which is a big deal. The prize money matters. So
Well, the problem is there are with something like League of Legends, it's so massive as one particular game that it has it's a far away multinational huge game. It's, so big that I don't remember who made the game, but they got bought out by a Chinese developer. I don't remember the name, but so many people globally play it and stream it, and it's just this one unifying game. Same thing with Dota, while kind of maybe similar to League. I don't really know these games too well, but these MOBA types, there's a million of them, but the main two are like Dota and League, and League is still way bigger than Dota. You have whatever Chinese company owns League, able to put up tons and tons of money because they make tons and tons of money off these games. Whereas with fighting games, there's less money to be made after the initial purchase, I think. And then you have so many different types of fighting games. It's not like, you have the League Championship because it's just League of Legends versus, a championship for Marvel versus Capcom, a championship for Tekken, a championship for Street Fighter, a championship for both Super Smash Bros. Melee and Super Smash Bros. 4. There's just so many disparate elements to the fighting game community, and they're not quite united like the one League of Legends, community, I guess. I think that's more of a bigger reason why the prize pools are smaller.
yeah, I'll say that affects it, but I'm trying to add up all like the Evo prize pools. Like the most, I know because they have separate games. The most they have for one game was 2016, the Street Fighter V, because that had the most added to it by Capcom, because that was when it just came out. The prize pool was $100,000 for Street Fighter V, but like the other tournaments in 2016, a lot less money going around in those ones. Let's see, where is it? Like Smash Brothers, each of those ones had like $20,000 for the prize pool.
Well, Nintendo doesn't support them at all either.
No, because like I said, the developers don't touch them. The only reason that EVO 2016 had that prize pool is because that was the first year at EVO for Street Fighter V, and Capcom said, "Hey, let's acknowledge it a little bit." But then 2017 is $25,000 less because they probably didn't add anything to it.
Well, you also have Counter-Strike Go and stuff like that. Those are probably fairly large pools, right?
Yeah.
A lot bigger. I can't quote you any numbers, but they're a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the World Championship is EVO for each of those games. And the World Championship for Smash Brothers Wii U was like $25,000.
Yeah, I really honestly think because games like Counter-Strike Go or even Call of Duty or even Halo 5 when it just came out were more popular and kind of more of the thing than a lot of fighting games. Because that community is fairly niche. It's really hard to get into.
Very niche. Yep. Because
if you're not... If you haven't been playing Tekken for most of the last 2 decades, there's just no chance of you ever winning anything like that. I mean, there are always exceptions and stuff like that, but for the most part, if you're not into Tekken, you're not going to win a Tekken tournament.
Or much less even know what's going on in the game. Because even when you were a kid and they'd say, "Hey, come over, I just got Killer Instinct and I've had it for a month and I want to come over and play you in it." And then you go over to his house and he just stomps the shit out of you. Because you've never played it before, and he's had it for a month, and that's what it's like playing fighting games with a friend, unless you both have the game and you both know what it is. And that's what it's like for all the fighting games. And yeah, you can see there's one person throws a fireball and does a kick and a punch and a jump, and that's all you can know about it, unless you've actually put a bunch of time into the game and say, "Oh, I can understand the details of what's happening." But when it comes to a game like Rocket League, hit the ball in the goal. Simple. Anyone that's anyone that's seen a ball before knows what's happening there. Call of Duty, they know to shoot the other person. That's simple enough. I can see who's shooting the other person. But in a fighting game, it's just punching and kicking, and you can say it. I guess that's cool, and the announcers might be going crazy over something, but unless you know what's actually happening, you're just like, oh, he's just punching and kicking the same way he did 5 seconds ago, but they yelled this time.
Yeah, the barrier of entry for fighting games is much, much steeper than just about any other esport, by a very large margin. With Call of Duty and League of Legends and stuff like that, there's a very, very steep learning curve. But I really don't think they're anywhere near as steep or difficult as a fighting game.
I don't really like watching the MOBAs on Twitch, because I've played some of them, but anytime a team fight happens in a game, I'm just like, I have no idea what's happening, and one side won or one side didn't won. And the announcer spoke really fast and said, oh, these people all use their ult, but I have no idea what happened. No idea.
Yep, nope.
But Rocket League, that's going to be the first esport that blows up big on TV. It's already starting to get on TV. Super simple to watch. It's the people who do the camera work are really good at it, so you can see what's happening. Rocket League is what's going to really make it big in real life.
Also, it's
or one of these card
real
games.
Exciting to watch and play because
they make no sense to people who are outside of the know for what these cards are based on, but for the most part they're fairly easy to follow, I think. That's all I have to say about esports and sports games.
Yeah. Oh, I have an important question. It's not about esports, though. Brian, why is your name Cloud Strife, specifically 768?
Because I really have no answer.
Were you going for 678, but you typoed and hit enter too fast? Or?
If I have to answer, I really don't know, to be honest. But if I had to answer, I assume it's because I never liked repeating numbers, and going in order just seemed so boring that I decided to mix it up a little bit.
Sounds good.
I use it now because it's kind of like tradition, but it's just something I've been using for the better part of the last 20-odd years, so I don't even really have an answer.
I slapped 7K on the end of things because way back in the year 2000, when lots of things would be 2K, I said it's a dumb joke. I was like, well, I'm going to be better. This is going to be 7K, and then I just never let the joke die for 17 years.
Those are the best kind of jokes.
Yeah.
The ones that go on for decades.
Yep. Let's see. Are there any games? I know you bought tons of people bought Uncharted this week. Is there any games coming out next week that you have had your eye on?
I'm a little torn on Mario and
tomorrow.
Rabbids Battle Kingdom. I'm intrigued.
Oh, that comes out next week?
That does come out next week.
Oh, wow. I'm only looking at the PlayStation list.
Yep. It's another thing that I'm a little more intrigued at just because it's on Switch, and, having a Switch game immediately also, not only is it a console game, it's also a portable game, and it seems like a great game to just, pick up and play and take with you wherever you go. And, I like the XCOM formula, and I like Mario, so the only thing I don't like too much is the Rabbids, but if it's a good game, I can get around that. And then when it goes on sale, Pillars of Eternity, I'm definitely going to pick up one day.
Yeah, let's see here. Everybody's Golf comes out next week.
Oh, speaking of sports games.
Yeah. There's a Resident
and F1
Evil
comes out
Revelations. Ark Survival Evolved finally, I guess, is not early access anymore. Then there's just I don't know, 20 other things I've never heard of. Oh yeah, there's the new Life is Strange episode 1.
Which I will get down the line when it is a little cheaper.
Yeah, I'd hate having to wait every 2 or 3 months for a 2-hour chapter to come out. I would not want to wait.
Which is why I'm glad Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy Episode 3 came out for the Telltale game. So that means one more and I could actually play the game. Because I will play it at 4, but not... Episode 4 or 5, but not before that.
I need to decide what game I'm going to start playing next. I have the Homefront, the Revolution, the Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry, playthrough Metal Gear Solid 5, the RPG Exist Archive. I have that on PS Now. And I think those are the big 4 I'm trying to decide between.
I would knock out Metal Gear Solid.
I know, that's a big investment. I really should pick that up because everyone loves Metal Gear Solid.
Especially me and Hugo.
Everyone loves
fans.
Metal Gear Solid. I remember on the PSLS.
Not Konami.
Ugh. On the PSLS staff page, until they had the recent shakeup, 9 out of 10 people all had Metal Gear Solid favorite game, and because everyone loves Metal Gear Solid.
I think everyone just loves Kojima.
Yeah, because when
For good reason.
Metal Gear Survive's going to come out, and not many people are going to buy it.
Nope.
I don't even know what it's about, but it's not about the great nanomachine drama that I want. So, hard pass. Lots of artificial intelligences. Artificial intelligences in the 70s. Before they have computers. Oh, man. You gotta suspend your disbelief just a tiny, tiny bit to wrap your head around it all, but oh, is it worth it?
So at the end of the podcast, I had some technical difficulties, but it was literally right as we were about to end it, so you didn't miss anything. Thanks for listening, though. Talk to you next time.